Do we believe in destiny? Is it all fate? Surely much of what we are arrives prepackaged. Our birthplace, our genetics, even many of our preferences shaped by forces we never chose, our surroundings. But if our very nature is written before we draw our first breath, can we truly escape it? Can we, as Kain so eloquently asks, break the chains imposed by the tyrannical stars? We have all been there, at one point or another. Why do we act a certain way? Is it because we genuinely want something, or because our surroundings taught us to want it? There are choices in life, that much is certain. But who paved the road? Who decided what shape it would take, and whether it would lead somewhere worth going? The choices that look strangest to an outside observer rarely feel strange to the person making them. From the inside, given everything that led to that moment, the choice almost makes itself. Perhaps the road we walk is simply the one most available to us right now. And forging a different path would demand far more than most of us are ever asked to give. This is the fundamental question at the heart of the Legacy of Kain series. Can we truly escape our own destiny? Or are we like the merchant in the old story of the appointment in Samara, fleeing our fate only to arrive, exhausted, exactly where the end was always waiting for us? Growing up, I always thought I had a solid grasp of English. My grades reflected that. And after all, I had grown up almost entirely on Western media despite it not being my first language. Then it hit me like a truck. A game like no other. Legacy of Kain, the Soul Reaver. The pure elegance of the writing and voice acting was something I simply wasn't prepared for. It held a mirror up to a gap I hadn't noticed. I was struggling to follow it. Much like Raziel in the game, I needed to grow. I needed to enrich my vocabulary, or I would miss everything being said and done. I was never a bookworm. Sophisticated, eloquent language was never something I sought out. But there was something so mesmerizing about this world that kept pulling me forward. Why was any of this happening to Raziel? Was Kain simply another villain? Evil for its own sake? No. Everything pointed to something deeper, something more. The conversations felt Shakespearean in a way I had never expected to encounter in a video game. I hadn't played Blood Omen before this, so I didn't fully understand the weight of the dilemmas everyone was carrying. Some of those questions I feel I'm still working through, not because I don't understand them, but because they're genuinely hard to answer in practical terms, and perhaps that's the point. It's far easier to wrestle with the hardest questions of free will and destiny inside a fantastic world you have no real stakes in, where you can try out different things without the consequence of having to live by your choices. The symbolism throughout the Legacy of Kain universe is quietly brilliant. The Elder God, forever demanding sacrifice, forever hungry, mirrors every institution in human history that has fed on those beneath it. The Circle of Nine, empowered individuals on whose morality the fate of the entire world depends, reflects our own uncomfortable reality, that the people with the most power over others are just as capable of corruption, failure, and self-destruction as anyone else. And then there is the simple, almost radical idea that our protagonists cannot do everything alone, that certain plans take enormous time, effort, and may still fail. The parallels to our world are staggering, and they work because our heroes are not exempt from the flaws they're fighting against. Raziel and Kain are broken in their own ways, sometimes deeply so. But here's the thing, it never stops them. If anything, it makes them more compelling. This is David versus Goliath, but with a David who knows exactly how cracked his sling is. Raziel grows into the weight of what's at stake gradually, learning along his travels who he is and what he is truly fighting for. Kain operates differently, and perhaps in a more fascinating way. He doesn't know the full scale of his enemy. He knows he doesn't know, and it doesn't shake him at all. He moves forward anyway, certain not that he will succeed, but that there has to be a way through, one that costs as little as possible to get things right. He knows he is firing into the dark, but to Kain, a miss is never just a failure. It's information. Either no one was there, or there was nothing to find. And either way, you know more than you did before. Some quotes from this series never left me, even after I finished every game in the series. One in particular stays with me more than any other. Kain's observation that even stones can lie. It always reminds me that polished presentation, expensive production, and well-articulated delivery are not the same thing as the truth. Just as history has always been written by those with the power to write it, information today is shaped and edited by those in a position to do so. The package can be immaculate. The contents can still be hollow, or worse, deliberately misleading. What makes this hard is that common sense should, in theory, be a reasonable defense. Applied carefully, and a surprising number of popular narratives start to unravel. But there is something deeply human about gravitating toward a popular opinion simply because it is popular. Safety in numbers is an old instinct, and it doesn't disappear just because the numbers are sometimes wrong. Kain understands this. His skepticism isn't cynicism for its own sake. It's the hard-won refusal to accept a surface at face value. And in the series, where almost every established truth eventually turns out to be a manipulation, that instinct keeps proving itself right. Perhaps the most frightening part of all of this is what happens when you begin surrendering agency over your own thinking. Every time you accept someone else's conclusion without questioning it yourself, you're training your mind to keep doing exactly that. The muscle of independent thought, like any muscle, weakens when you stop using it. There is a nuance here worth acknowledging. Choosing not to commit full mental resources to every question, finding reliable sources and trusting them as useful reference points, isn't weakness. It can be genuinely smart allocation of limited time and energy we all have. None of us can research everything from source material. The trap is subtler than it first appears. It isn't simply trusting sources. It is assuming that your sources would arrive at the same conclusions you would, given the same information. That your interests and their interests are aligned. In matters of entertainment or casual interest, perhaps that risk is acceptable. But in the decisions that actually shape your life, that assumption can cost you everything. Kain never makes that mistake. He gathers what information he can, weighs it against what he already knows, and reserves the final judgment for himself. Even when everything is telling him something that sounds convincing. Is the picture forming perfect? But is it too perfect? In the end, Legacy of Kain doesn't answer the question of destiny so much as it reframes it. Maybe the question was never whether the path was predetermined. Maybe it was always about what you choose to do when you find yourself standing on it. Kain and Raziel, in their different ways, both arrive at something that Stoic philosophers understood long before either of them. Don't wallow. Don't surrender to grief. Keep your head high. Push forward. And try your best to rise above whatever has been placed in front of you. Even if the whole world is crumbling around you, and especially then, find the strength to defy it and make it the best of what remains. Perhaps that is the only answer to the question of free will that actually matters in practice. Not a philosophical proof, not a guarantee, just the quiet, defiant decision to act as though your choices mean something, and to keep making them, one by one, until the path you walk is one you can call your own. What was your takeaway from the Legacy of Kain series? I know it is a broad question, but one worth exploring. Let me know in the comments below. For similar topics, hit like and subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next video. Until then, take care.